Have you had any situations where there's peculiar animal behavior that when you communicate with the animal, something kind of funny or interesting came out that you'd like to share?
There's always sometimes very surprising things. In particular, the animal will reveal a personal detail about their person. Mm-hmm. And it's like I don't want to pry into the person's life, but the animal's talking about it, and it's obviously an issue with the animal. And so the person, just laughs. It's pretty funny. It provides comic relief.
Yeah, I would imagine that is kind of delicate to handle sometimes with the owner. Now, I heard you say person. Is that the term you prefer in terms of versus owner, I guess, which is kind of like, as if the pet is an object?
I generally like to say the person or human, mm-hmm. and an animal.
Okay.
Because it's really, sometimes, especially with cats, it's like the cats own the people, not the other way around.
I think that's so fascinating because I think we've all seen people that had that kind of dynamic with the pet, so that's really funny.
And the pets really are like children, and they are part of the family system, mm-hmm. and their energies, the person's energies and the animal's energies, can be so intertwined. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's hard for me to read my own cats. I have 2 cats. Mm. Read them because I'm not neutral. Because we live together, we sleep together. They're reacting off of me, and so in order to read them, I have to look at me, and I'm not as neutral.
That's interesting. So you require the service of someone else sometimes when you're trying to communicate with your animals.
Yes.
Okay.
Particularly, when I had my cat's doing some pretty naughty behavior. And it was really around a very emotionally charged issue for me. And I, in particular, needed help of somebody else.
I think that makes a lot of sense because just, for example, clairvoyants have a very hard time reading themselves or seeing what's going on with themselves. It helps to have someone that's kind of outside of that picture. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the difference between working with domestic animals or pets versus wild animals and how that works.
In my experience, and I've heard other intuitives with different experiences that fascinate me, I find that it's easier for me to communicate in concrete ways and be able to articulate in concrete ways if it's an animal that lives with people, whether it be a parrot, which is technically a wild animal, mm-hmm. or a dog and cat, which have been domesticated. And there's something in the way that we can perceive each other. Mm-hmm. And when it's a wild animal, I found that the perception takes place on a different level, more on the archetypal level. And sometimes sensation comes through, sometimes emotional states or nervous states like fight or flight can come through, or whether the animal's calm and peaceful. But for the most part, a bison out in the wild has no clue about human rhythms and feeding schedules and where you're supposed to go potty, and they don't even care. And so, and even sort of, I suspect something about our nervous systems are not quite. We, as humans, we live these lives we have electricity, we're a lot further removed from nature than they are. So there's a little bit of, I experience gaps in perception. However, there have been exceptions where I was in Yellowstone and heard the wolves howl in the evening, and I could feel it completely what they were howling about. They were howling about their connection to the web of life. And they were drawing me into that connection. And I was very honored to be able to hear them and perceive. It was like, how clocks chime at a certain time to mark the time of day? Well, it's like they howled at that time just to signify their place in the web.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps. I bet that was an amazing experience.
And there was a sense of being connected and family. And I have read in various books about wolves, representing family and connection, and certainly that's what it did for me.
So it sounds like it's just connecting with wild animals just in a very different way than
Yes.
with domesticated animals.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know people that specialize in more with wild animals, or is that just differ from person to person?
You know, I'm sure there are people who, you know, connect with wild animals, and that's more of their work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure many of the wildlife biologists and, you know, are communicating on some level. You know, even the women who go into the jungles of Africa and live with chimps and gorillas, they are most definitely communicating. I'm not sure if they're communicating on an intuitive level. I don't know their experience, but there's something that they are gathering, for sure, for the rest of us.
Wow, I've learned so much. Thank you very much. Is there anything that you'd like to add in terms of something that you think would be helpful to keep in mind with the audience? Maybe how, if they're interested, what they can do to try and communicate with their own animals or animals they come across?
Yes, I think that for me the best thing is I learned to trust my imagination, and I would see images and feel things, and I just learned to trust it. And the other thing that I did was I did a lot of physical practices like yoga and dance, and helped me to sort of sensitize and open up my nervous system. And I do believe that many sensations and perceptions come through our nervous system, because we are these highly sensitive beings. And the other thing is, don't try to work with your own animals at first. I mean, work with somebody else's.
Yeah, because you're too connected with that. It's just like if you're trying to start out doing readings, you don't start with someone you know because it's too hard.
Yes, and sometimes enrolling in a psychic training course and sitting in a group with other people, other intuitives, can really help via transmission, via your nervous system's vibrating at a similar level. I believe that, at least that for me, has helped.
Okay.
Being with others who can do this.
Which leads me to another question, which is how you, because you do have some formal training, so how that worked and how that helped you develop your skills as an animal communicator.
I enrolled in a psychic training course, a year-long program, 7 years after I started doing the work. And what it did is it helped me clarify and hone my skills in terms of taking care of myself. And then when I was able to do that, I've noticed that the work has deepened.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. It's been really fascinating. I've learned a lot having you on our show. If you're interested in contacting Rhianna, she has a website and phone number.
Yes.
And also she's based out of Boulder, the Front Range area in Colorado.
My web address is www.rhiannagray.com, and my name is spelled RHIANNAGRAY. And you can also reach me via telephone at 303-554-8130. And thank you so very much, Laura.
Thank you. And just one quick thing about your readings. I know some people do long-distance readings. Do you do that as well, or do you prefer to be in person?
I do both.
Okay.
Primarily, I do readings over the phone because I have clients calling me from all over the country.
Okay, that's
And
great.
I've even worked via email when there was somebody in New Zealand. And if they live in Boulder County or somewhere convenient, I will make in-home visits. And it really depends on what the person wants, and they can work each way.
Okay, great. Well, I'll post all this contact information on my website as well, which is healingpowers.net. Thanks so much.